have a rumbly in your tumbly?
Oh, yes, I'm rumbly in my tumbly. Time for something sweet.
Do you have a need for mead?
Everything is honey, everywhere I see. Everything is honey, and that's quite all right with me.
I'm Greg.
I'm Julie, and we're the Crafty Winers.
So we've done a video on hard lemonade. We've done a video on hard cider. And both of those are meant to teach you to make the base product. And then we have add-on videos that show you different flavors that you can add to those base recipes. So today we're doing a mead in much the same fashion. This is going to be a dry mead that you can add different flavors to, or you're going to probably add honey to it to at least add some flavor back into it. Because mead, when it's dry, typically doesn't have not a lot of flavor going on. And a lot of times you can't even really taste the honey. So you'll at least be adding honey back in to back sweeten it most likely, but we'll show you the process of how to make this, and then you can watch our other videos for how to make it better. So we're using Go Firm, and we are using Fresco cider yeast. Fresco cider yeast is just that. It's designed to be a cider yeast. We use it for a lot of things because we really like it. It does really well at cool temperature fermenting, and that's how we like to do our fermenting usually, except for red wines. But we will ferment this at about 60 degrees, and that yeast really likes that temperature range. And it's pretty hardy, so we recommend it. I'll put a link to it in the description below, but you can use other yeast too. That's just what we're using for this. So we want this base mead to be about 14 to 15%. And the rule of thumb for honey, and this is Kirkland, so it's Costco brand honey, because it's the cheapest. It's not cheap, but it's the cheapest that we can find right now.
No honey is cheap.
No. The rule of thumb is about 5% per pound of honey in a 1 gallon batch of mead. So for around 14 to 15%, we want about 3 pounds. Okay. So you can do the measuring, and I would do that if it wasn't such an easy thing for us, because this is a brand new container of honey that's 5 pounds. I'm just going to do a little over half this container into here, and that's a whole lot easier than dealing with weighing it and all of that. So if you're not as lucky to have a container that you can pour half of it out, I would put close to the amount that you need in and then warm it up in the microwave. It makes it a whole lot easier to pour into here, and then you'll want to weigh it. But this is a brand new 5 pound container, so I'm just going to pour a little over half, and we're going to be right in the neighborhood. I'm going to say that's right about where I want it to be.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Except for the stuff that's dripping back down now.
Yeah, but it started up here, so I'll put a little more in. It doesn't need to be exact. If you want it to be exact, measure it, but I usually get away with doing it this method. So
I smell it. I feel the need to go get the peanut butter.
So that's going to be about 3 pounds, and I could obviously put this on my scale now. It's going to be measuring the container it's in too, but I also have another container like this, and I could use that to figure out what my exact weight is. I'm not going to worry about it, just to prove to everybody that it doesn't have to be to the teaspoon accurate.
We're just living on the wild side now.
That's some honey for your tummy.
Some honey for my tummy. There's a rumbly in my tummy.
Now I'm going to add water to the 1 gallon mark. And as I said, heating the honey definitely makes it easier to deal with. But when you have a power tool like this, with a pumpkin beater on the end, even cold honey would be no problem.
I noticed you said pumpkin beater this time.
Pumpkin gutter.
It's a pumpkin gutter. Now he's beating the pumpkins with it. You're getting kind of violent.
Well, I'm anti-pumpkin today. So, we do want to find out what our gravity is. My impression is that when you take a gravity of honey, it's not as accurate as it is with sugar. Because it doesn't dissolve quite as well.
Thick.
But we do this anyway. It's 1.090. So that is a little bit less, according to this. That's going to be, we can use our tool on craftywiners.com/tools, which is actually more geared towards sugar. But just to get an idea of the ABV, that's going to probably be about 12%. So I could add a little more honey. Let's add a little more honey. Now that I see the container over there is now over half full.
Let's add another smack roll of honey. I'm just full of Winnie the Pooh.
This is for ABV sake right now.
And now my hand is sticky. And I want to type on my computer.
And we're sticking with the same rule. We want this to be 3 pounds. It's just that I didn't quite get there.
I'm going to have to wash my hands before I touch my lap.
Okay, gravity one more time, and I'm going to go with it regardless at this point. I'm going with 1.100. And according to the hydrometer, that'll be around 13%. So I'm good with that. So now if you've made wine before, usually the juice has enough nutrition in it that the yeast likes it without having to do anything. But when it's just honey, similar to if it was just sugar and there was no juice in this, like when we make seltzer, the honey is not going to be quite enough nutrition for the yeast. So we've tried quite a few different things, and we are going to use GoFirm on this recipe too, but GoFirm by itself doesn't seem to always do enough. So for our Walmart budget videos where we teach you how to make wine and cider and lemonade and everything using all Walmart ingredients and supplies, so you don't have to buy them from a reseller, we came up with a mixture that uses wheat germ and sterilized yeast. And I'll put the recipe up for that on the screen. We're using that mixture for our meads too now because it actually does really well in the meads. We want to take our pH and see if we need to adjust our pH, but you want to put this stuff in first because this majorly adjusts the pH by itself. Don't know what it is in here that does it, but this is going to raise the pH. So put this in and then we'll stir it. So I'm going to put this back in here because I am going to mix this before I take another sample for my pH. So I put the recipe up for making this, but we're going to want, once the mixture is made, we want about a teaspoon, and a little more won't hurt. This does kind of float in the mead while it's fermenting, but we'll get rid of it when we cold crash at the end. Okay, so now that we've mixed that up really good, I'm going to take a sample of it. And honestly, I could take the pH right in that container, but I know that we're going to have to adjust it one way or the other. So put it in my measuring cup, take my pH. It made a liar out of me. It's 4.01.
Which is good.
So I probably would have had to put some potassium bicarbonate in here to raise it, had I not put the mixture in first. So the first time that I made this with this nutritional ingredient, I adjusted the pH at the same time that I put that in there, and it made the pH go twice as far as I intended it to because this does raise the pH. So we don't need to do anything except for
warm this up.
Heat that up. She's going to heat that up in the microwave to get it to about 80 degrees before we pitch the yeast into it. And I'm going to wash the honey off our pH meter.
Where are the dogs?
Doggies.
Puppies.
Hi.
There's one.
How are you? Can you give me 5?
Oh.
Wow, thank you. Can you give me 5?
5?
Well, you give her 5. You won't give me 5.
She's like, she had the treats last time. Oh, 10.
Okay.
I got 10.
Nori, one more time. Oh, wow. Thanks. That's
5? No, you've already did it. I need a Nori 5. Nori 5. Okay, thank you.
So you heat that up?
I did for 10 seconds, and I overshot 80 just a little bit. It was 82.
Well, this didn't start cold like most of ours do because everything was room temperature.
But it's 82, so yeah.
That's good. So we like using GoFirm and everything, including our meads. It basically hydrates the yeast. It makes the yeast start off really healthy before it gets put into the mead.
There you go.
Are you being mean or are you being nice?
I don't know yet. I think almost mean.
Be nice. So you don't have to use GoFirm. You don't have to use Fermento, but we use them both. And the way that we do it is the GoFirm we put in before the yeast gets put into the mead. And again, there is some of that nutritional mixture of wheat germ and yeast that's already in here. And so we're going to let this hydrate in the GoFirm and warmth in the yeast. It's going to hydrate in the warmth for 2 hours before it gets put into the mead to start fermenting. Starts it off really healthy. And we are going to do this, we're going to ferment this at a cool temperature, around 60 degrees. And at that temperature, it's going to take longer than it would if you did it at room temperature or warmer. But I'll put a schedule up of what I do between the time that we start the yeast fermenting and the time the fermentation is done. But for a cooler temperature after 5 days, I'm going to use a food saver to get the CO2 out for 3 minutes. Then I'm going to add a teaspoon of Fermento, which gives it legs to go to the end of the fermentation. That
Gives it legs.
gives it legs so that it can walk. Yeah. And then I will use a oxygenation wand, aeration wand, to give it oxygen for about 3 minutes. All of that is optional. You don't need to do it. We find that it makes our product better, but you don't have to do that. And if you're doing it at a warmer temperature, it's going to not take quite as long. You won't do it on the 5th day, you'll do it on the 3rd day, but I'll put that schedule up so you can see it.
I'm going to sprinkle this yeast on here.
Do you notice our container here? We were short on containers a few weeks ago, so we went and bought some Carlo Rossi, which we did drink a lot of the wine, believe it or not. But the main reason we bought it was to get the carboy.
They work perfectly.
So
I didn't even need to dunk this. It just hydrated itself.
I wanted to swim. So both the yeast that's hydrating and the mead that is ready for yeast are going to go into a warm area for 2 hours. And then we pour this in. And that will start the fermentation up. And then again, I'll put the schedule up one more time that shows you what I'm going to do. But again, that is totally optional. You don't need to do that. We just like the way that it comes out better. But we are going to let this ferment to completion at the cool temperature. It's probably going to take a couple of weeks to a month, possibly even longer sometimes. But after that is done, we will come back and show you the next step.
Is it possible? I have washed my hands, I have washed everything, and I'm still finding honey.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, that's you can get into some sticky situations, especially when you're doing this on camera. Okay, about 5 weeks has gone by. This has been done for a few days, but it wasn't a filming day, so I stuck this in the fridge, which did a couple things. One, it made it so that it kind of cold crashed. There's more sediment down at the bottom than there normally would be, which is a good thing. And 2, it was bubbling a little bit, but that stopped the fermentation so that there's a little bit of sweet in this, which is what we like. We want our meads to have a little bit of sweet, so I just happened to get lucky. I caught it at 1.002. Well, I stuck it in the fridge when I saw it at 1.002, and it's still at 1.002, so there's a little bit of sweet in here.
Which is good.
Which we like.
Because we were going to do that anyway.
Now, if this warms back up again, it's going to probably start fermenting again, but it's not going to after we stick potassium sorbate in here. So we're doing that right now. We're not going to let it warm up and start fermenting again. So I'm going to rack this, which means transfer it from the primary fermenter into this without taking the lees or the sediment that's down at the bottom. We'll do it without talking so we can speed right through it. Okay, so at the end I tip the jar to try to get as much liquid as I can without getting any of the sediment at the bottom. And that's about as much as I thought I could do safely, so we'll call that good. We'll clear this out of the way and then show you the next step. Okay, so we've got a jar of mead without the lees at the bottom now. It's fairly clear actually already, but we're going to make it a lot clearer by putting some stuff in it.
First, I'm going to take some stuff out. Some stuff.
Stuff.
Some mead.
And again, because we stopped this before it went completely dry, it's really close to dry, but it's 0.002 points above dry. So there's a little bit of sugar, and I'll put the actual grams of sugar up on the screen because I don't know how to do that calculation in my head, but it will have a little more flavor and a little more sweetness now, which will make this a little bit more pleasant because we are going to taste this. Even though this is not the completed product, we don't like mead that doesn't have flavor in it just for the sake of mead. Neither of us are really fans of that.
No.
We love mead when it's got good flavors added to it. So we wouldn't normally taste it today, but because this is the end of the video for the base mead product, and you'll want to watch one of our other videos for how to flavor it, we are going to go ahead and taste it so that we can give you an idea of how this tastes.
And what I just put in there was the chiasosol, 1/8 of a teaspoon, and it's going in here after I took this out because what I'm putting in here right now will work against that. The chitosan.
Go ahead and use the spoon instead of the sucky thing.
That's
spoon.
probably a good idea. So I'm going to put the chitosan in here.
Chitosan and chiasosol are both clearing agents, is bentonite that she's putting in there now, but the chitosan and chiasosol work on different charges of particles, and they can actually work against each other. So you want to have the chiasosol in here working by itself for a while, at least an hour, preferably, for it to get its particles, and then when we put the chitosan in there, it'll get its particles and they won't work against each other. We would normally recommend at least an hour. Because we're filming, we don't do that. So your product will end up being clearer than what we do on camera, although when we're not on camera, we do let it sit for an hour or more, and
Yes, we do.
we have nice clear meads when we're done. But
So then I also put in some potassium sorbate and potassium metabisulfite.
it will keep it from starting a new fermentation, and also it's a stabilizer. In the case of the metabisulfite, it makes it so that oxygen has a harder time binding with the molecules of mead, so it will be more shelf stable.
Oh, I guess since I already have this all out here, do we want to check the pH too so I can put the stuff in if we need to adjust it?
We're not as particular on pH with mead as we are with a lot of our drinks because we usually keep it refrigerated anyway.
That is true.
But we don't know what you're going to do with it. So we're going to teach you to lower the pH to a shelf-stable level. And right now, this pH is 4.13, which is a little high. We want it to be down about 3.8. We are going to be adding ingredients to this in our other videos that probably are going to lower it more, but we like to have it at a consistent point, so we're going to add
some tartaric acid.
Probably a half teaspoon of tartaric acid.
I do have half
Tartaric acid is the acid that's prevalent in wine. You also have other options. You have citric acid, which is lemon flavor, basically. And then you have malic acid, which is the prevalent acid in apple cider. So you can choose with your mead which acid you want to put in there. We like sticking with tartaric.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of grape fans more than apples or lemons as far as our drinks.
It seems to change the flavor the least also.
Yeah.
But when it's in a cider, it's good to have malic.
It's the more stable acid. In our winemaking, a lot of times we will convert the malic into lactic acid, which is the acid that's in milk, because the malic acid's a little bit harsher.
Video soon to be coming on that.
Yep. So this made this cloudier mainly because of the potassiums. But that's fine. It's sitting for a couple of days now. It will make a huge difference in the clarity of this.
It's this one that does the cloudiness, the sorbate.
We're going to go ahead and taste this just to give you an idea. Oh, I'm going to check the pH again first. Let me stir just a little bit more. We do want the pH to be in the neighborhood of 3.8 because any of the videos that build on this recipe are assuming that that's what the pH is. And you'll hear us say that in every one of the spin-off mead videos, that we left this product at 3.8 or so. and it is now 3.98. So we are going to want to put more in.
Oh, take a little more of this.
Again, with our selection of the mead that we usually make, we aren't really particular about the pH because we keep it in the fridge. But we do want to teach you to do it the safe way.
Quarter teaspoon?
Half again, probably, but you need more must than that. You'll never get it to dissolve. A half is going to be closer. Different liquids react differently. The pH reacts differently, and even in 2 different batches of meads, you could put the same amount of acid in and have the pH come out differently. And so it's better to be conservative and not go overboard, because if you go overboard, then you may have to adjust back up. One good thing about mead when we make it and don't adjust the pH is it doesn't give either of us heartburn. Where when you take it down to 3.8, there's a chance if you're sensitive to
It can.
acid, it might give you heartburn. So keep that in mind, I guess, as well. Okay. Our pH is 3.77. So we're good. We're right about where we want to be on pH. So now we're going to go ahead and taste it, and we'll give you an idea how it tastes now. Again, we don't drink it like this. This is a very slightly semi-sweet mead because it's got a couple grams of sugar in it still from that we didn't let the yeast ferment. But we like to add fruit or syrups or whatever to it to make it more flavorful. That's just the way that we prefer it.
It's not. It's
not bad.
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for just a.
It's just there's not a lot of honey flavor. You can taste the alcohol, so it's just not something I would sit down and drink like this.
Though there are real mead lovers that probably would drink it just like this, just like we feel about our Cabernet.
Yeah, we prefer wine.
Yeah.
So the very first flavoring video that you're going to end up seeing on our channel is probably going to be a mocha peppermint mead. So we'll actually probably be using this particular gallon of mead to do that recipe with.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. But you'll see a lot of mead recipes that all take what we have right here and add flavor to it and make it taste the way that we like it. So watch for those videos. The potassium sorbate needs to be in here for 24 hours to make the yeast that's in here not able to start a fermentation again before we add any sugars. And one thing that we add to our meads is honey.
Yep.
We want that honey flavor to come back because right now there's not a lot of honey flavor. It's been fermented out. It'll come back very quickly because this is a mead that is based on honey. So it doesn't take very much honey to make it taste like honey again. But we can't add that honey until this is set for 24 hours. Right. Doesn't matter in this case because we're ending this video here. And it will be at least a week before we film the flavoring part. So
it will have sat for 24 hours.
For you, before you add a sugared flavor, honey, anything that's got sugars in it, honey or any fruit or anything, you'll want to make sure that the sorbate has 24 hours to work on this first.
Yep.
So hope you enjoyed this and watch for the recipes that build on the base mead.
Thank you guys for watching our video on mead, base mead. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please click like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And if you have, thank you very much. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, cheers.